it really comes down to the family. It comes down to there being genuine faith expressed in the homes that these kids grew up in. In other words, they didn't just go to church on Sunday and pay their respects and then just live like the world the rest of the week.
Would apologetic ministries in churches help with curbing the desire for cultural approval?
That's an interesting question. So here's what I think. So this is going to relate in my mind to the deconstruction conversation. So like that's kind of the world I'm in right now. I'm researching and writing a book on deconstruction. And what I'm really learning in just studying the deconstruction stories is that it's not always just that an apologetics class would necessarily just by itself insulate kids from deconstructing or from following culture or something like that. I think it's a huge thing that was missing that we need to, do better with. We do need to teach kids what the truth is, how we know what's true, why we believe the Bible is God's word, and give them answers for all of the whys behind the whats. I think that's hugely important. But there's been some really interesting research done. Everybody's kind of aware of the idea of they call it the youth exodus, right? So depending on which study you're looking at, anywhere from 70 to 90% of kids leaving the church after high school. I think that number gets a lot lower when you consider the ones that come back. So maybe 45% to 50%. That's still like half our kids, right? Even at the most conservative estimates, half our kids are leaving the church after high school. And there have been so many studies done on why they're leaving, but there was one study done on the kids who stayed. And what's really interesting is that when you look at the things that were consistent in the homes of the kids who didn't leave church after high school, there were some things all of the households had in common. And interestingly, it wasn't just apologetics, right? I do think apologetics is really important because we got to teach kids to think critically, know why they believe what they do. But we're looking at things where, like, in the homes where the kids didn't leave the church, they had family dinners 5 out of 7 nights. I mean, that's not something you would really think about. And you go, well, that's going to keep kids in church or in relationship with God. But honestly, when you look at all of the factors, it really comes down to the family. It comes down to there being genuine faith expressed in the homes that these kids grew up in. In other words, they didn't just go to church on Sunday and pay their respects and then just live like the world the rest of the week. They lived it out throughout the week. They had at least one, what they called, I believe it was called a faith encounter. And that doesn't mean that the kid had some kind of big encounter with God in the week. It just meant that their family took time to read the Bible or to pray together outside of the actual 4 walls of the church. And so really what this tells me is that in the homes where the kids stayed, there was not a lot of legalism and there was genuine faith expressed. In other words, the parents were really living it out. And so I think that, just to answer that question in a broader sense, apologetics is a huge part of that. I think especially in the skeptical age, we have to know how to answer people's questions that they have about why we trust the Bible, why we believe God exists, and all of these other things. But ultimately, I think that we can't lose the plot on how important the family is, and for children to have a mom and a dad. And please hear me. I know there are people listening to this where you're a single parent, in a situation that you didn't ask for. Oh my goodness, God can work so strongly in your situation and will work mightily in your situation. But I'm just saying, for those of us who have the opportunity to maybe sit down at dinner once a week, I mean, just little things like that go so far to help stabilize the faith of our kids. I truly believe that.